I'm 33, and I'm planning to get married. At Fashion Week, the media interviewed me, and I greeted them with a smile. All eyes turned to where the spotlight shined, on Tiffany, the CEO of TC Group. Everyone knows I've been with her since I was 20, and I'm her only publicly acknowledged boyfriend. But unfortunately, Tiffany is used to being in control. No one can manage her. When her deep eyes looked at me, her expression was the same as always, calm and indifferent. I smirked and showed the ring on my hand, saying warmly, yesterday, I accepted Anna's proposal. I hope everyone will bless us. After the grand event of Fashion Week, my relationship with Anna became a trending topic instantly. Not surprising, as I'm a whole 10 years older than her. She's a popular influencer, I'm a well-known fashion designer, and with TC Group backing us, it created quite the buzz. Everyone knows I've been by Tiffany's side since I was 20, and I owe my standing today entirely to her support. A few years back, when I was gaining a bit of fame in the industry, a fashion magazine did an exclusive on me. To create buzz, they highlighted my relationship with Tiffany. I still remember the article's headline, "Endless Love, Joseph's Best Brand." That year, I launched my fashion brand, and it made a strong debut in the fashion world. TC Group supermarkets promoted it heavily. Even their cinema systems and ad business helped elevate the brand. I'm Joseph. Before knowing Tiffany, I was just a waiter in a restaurant run by her friend. After meeting her, she completely took over my life. She sent me to school, taught me fashion design, and got me an MBA in business. Step by step, I climbed up until I became successful. Now I have my own company, with brands in top malls nationwide. Our limited edition high-end pieces are hugely popular among elites. Of course, I'm friends with everyone, part of their circle too. It's pretty obvious I have a great reputation in the industry, but it wasn't always like this. When Tiffany sent me to study, I was already hers. She bought me an apartment, luxury watches, and took me to various parties and auctions. People treated me politely because they feared her power. Behind my back, they mocked me, looking down on my background and on me as a person. They said Tiffany must be bewitched to forsake someone like Oliver for an insignificant waiter. Oliver was not only a devastatingly handsome celebrity but also from a wealthy family. I recall an event when I was still studying fashion design. Tiffany took me to an evening party, mingling coolly at the business table. I was hungry and, with her permission, went downstairs to grab some snacks at the buffet. Oliver strolled over casually. He accidentally spilled a glass of red wine on me, apologizing with an insincere, charming smile. No worries, I waved it off, avoiding trouble. But then he took another glass from a friend and poured it over my head. Smiling with perfect teeth, he asked, "Now is it a problem, Joseph?" Laughter erupted around us. Even though I wore an expensive suit and watch, had a handsome look, and had mannerisms from etiquette classes, deep inside, I couldn't shake off that I was raised from nothing. So while they laughed, I didn't. I turned, grabbed a glass of wine, and poured it over Oliver's head. "Still not a problem, Oliver," I said seriously. No one expected me to fight back. They saw me as a lowly plaything Tiffany was momentarily amused with, even placing bets on when she'd tire and drop me. Oliver hated me not just because of business ties between his family and TC Group. At the time, Tiffany's grandmother, Christina, was alive, looking to arrange marriages. The Miller's eldest granddaughter, Diana, was married. Second, lived abroad doing academic work. Third, Rose, had a bad reputation as a wild child. The rest weren't important, but standing next to her grandmother, Tiffany was the most prominent. When she was 4, her parents divorced. Her father took her back home. Christina had 3 daughters, but only her father as a son. After returning to the Millers, her father died of cancer. Christina then raised Tiffany as a beloved granddaughter. At that calm time, the Millers didn't realize anything. Until Tiffany returned from studying abroad, using shares to infiltrate TC Group, securing the highest decision-making power with her strong methods. The Millers then realized Christina's intentions. That's why Tiffany was inevitably chosen for Oliver. Oliver didn't expect me to pour wine on him. He slapped me, and I quickly retaliated, slapping him back. We ended up fighting, pulling each other's ties, breaking fancy wine glasses with red liquid splattered on the floor. People around us hesitated to intervene, only holding us back, knowing I was Tiffany's man. The commotion ended when Tiffany appeared at the stairs. In a fight, Oliver was no match for me, for I had grown up rough and unsophisticated, coming from a small village. Though disheveled, apart from a scratch on my neck, I was fine. Oliver, however, had his neat hair messed, and his face took quite the beating. Amidst the scene, Oliver pointed at me, wavering while being supported by others, accusing me. I stood firmly, defiantly. At the staircase, Tiffany watched the scene unfold, chuckling softly under everyone's mixed gazes. Her brand new silk shirt had a slightly open collar, with sleeves casually rolled up to her forearms. Her fingers lazily tapped the armrest, giving me a look that seemed almost amused. She was usually all serious and straight-faced, but surprisingly, today she seemed in a good mood. She wasn't shocked because she'd always known my wild side. Whether I was Joseph or just a broke kid, no matter where I was, I'd never be the one to lose out. That's how it's been since I met her. That night we left a party, and back at her apartment, she was cleaning the scratches on my neck with a cotton swab. I pushed her hand away. "No need, it doesn't hurt." Her expression darkened, and then she stood up in front of me, unhurriedly unbuttoning her shirt. Under the dim light, her shadow stretched long. She leaned down, pinning me down, holding my hands, dropping any semblance of her usual elegance. When Tiffany kissed me, it was all fierce and overwhelming. I couldn't resist. She was quite pleased with my obedience, kissing my hair and cheek, murmuring softly, "Joseph, what do you want? Joseph, what do you want?" In the beginning, I was terrified of being broke, so I told her I wanted money. She handed me a bank card. I kept withdrawing money at the ATM, stuffing it into my pockets. My eyes welled up as I walked back to the apartment I shared with Alice. That day it was snowing heavily. I found our apartment in chaos, things scattered everywhere. Oh right, Alice, my girlfriend, had racked up a huge debt in her business and skipped town. She called me from the train station, saying, "Joseph, come over here, I'll take you with me." At 2 a.m., I packed up and ran like hell to the train station. When I got there, the police had cordoned off the area. People said a few attackers with knives had killed a young woman outside the station. There was a lot of blood on the ground. People were shaken, saying how terrible it was. The girl crawled on the ground, reached for her phone, and they chopped off her hand. Within minutes, she was a bloody mess. I didn't find Alice because I knew she was dead. She owed a big boss a lot of money she couldn't pay back, and he said he'd kill her for it. I wandered the streets in a daze, called Tiffany. "Hey, Tiffany, do you still want me?" In the middle of the night, Tiffany found me on the street, took me back home. I grabbed her collar, trembling in her arms, unable to understand where I got the nerve to be rebellious and proud when I was so weak. She had told me before she'd give me money if I left Alice and stayed with her. With that money, Alice wouldn't have died. But I was too stupid, too young, and had nothing, thinking I knew everything. I wouldn't let our love be tainted. Alice and I had been through tough times together. We were poor, but we loved each other. I believed we could pull through with our own skills. Alice said the boss was just trying to scare her and wouldn't kill her over a few $100,000. I believed it since losing money and life wasn't a good deal. We worked hard to survive, just like when we ran away from that backward village, knowing we'd make it one day. Alice even worked as a hostess at a nightclub, saying the money was quick and it was just a little indignity, nothing fatal. Meanwhile, besides my full-time job at a restaurant, I picked up a part-time job at a breakfast cafe, working from dawn till dark. We lived small but tried hard, so how did she end up dead? Why was money so hard to earn? I shivered in Tiffany's arms, my teeth chattering with fear. She wrapped me in a blanket, soothed me to sleep till dawn, then hoarsely asked, "Joseph, what do you want?" Of course, I wanted money, lots and lots of it. But when I had cash in my hands and returned to the apartment, realizing Alice would never come back, I broke down crying. Winter was so cold, and the snow was so heavy. She was gone and I was still alive. Being alive meant I had to look forward and keep moving. So later, when Tiffany asked me the same question, I said I wanted to win. I couldn't keep losing. I couldn't stay a failure. I wasn't going to accept that. Tiffany patted my head like I was a pitiful little cat and said, "Joseph, from now on, you'll keep winning." True to her words, it took me 13 years to completely transform. I have to admit, without Tiffany, there'd be no winning Joseph today. For the past 13 years, she's controlled me, shaping my path. She has this ability to easily decide others' fates, staying behind the scenes as the calm and collected mastermind. Tiffany is up on a pedestal, and so everyone overlooks my efforts, assuming my success is solely thanks to her backing. Even though my brand is unique and my designs have won international awards, and a well-known fashion magazine wanted to profile me, they still found a way to bring her into it. Though Tiffany isn't a show-off, doesn't care for media appearances. But the magazine, when writing about my successes, also praised my relationship with the CEO of TC Group, slapping on a photo of us. The picture was taken by chance while we were watching the World Cup. She had a soft smile, hands crossed under her chin, attentively watching the game. The handsome man next to her leaned in to chat, his gaze gentle. When the magazine came out, I thought she would be mad. Unexpectedly, she read through the article with a raised eyebrow, her expression unchanged, her thumb caressing the photo just like she's caressed my face countless times. "Joseph, you've won," she said. She's been the operator so long, so capable. I must have looked like a fool in front of her. Every little thought laid bare, so transparent. I asked for money, and she gave it to me. I wanted to win, and she gave me both fame and fortune. She even openly took me to various parties and events with the Millers. Everyone knew that, over the years, I was the only boyfriend she ever made public. This gave the magazine and the public lots of misconceptions, like marrying into wealth was just a matter of time for me. The magazine interview was published with my permission. I didn't object, really because I was testing how she'd react. Now I've got both money and fame, but if I'm greedy and want more? I was 27 that year, already with her for 7 years. People are such forgetful creatures. When I look back, my unsettled early life feels like it was from a past lifetime. Women are naturally inclined to chase after something, but I've reached a point in my life where things have become simple. I crave stability. Yet she clearly told me she's not going to marry me. "Joseph, you've already won. I've arranged things so you'd succeed. You've got so much now. Don't overthink it. I guess it means I'm not all that smart." Christina didn't push Tiffany to marry Oliver because the Millers don't need business alliances to strengthen their power. Christina just thought Tiffany was at the age to get married, and Oliver was a good match. Her marriage needed to be within the same social standing. Of course, Tiffany can refuse marriage. She's got the choice to have me as a boyfriend. After all, I'm just the boyfriend. She's not going to marry me. People at the top always have clarity in their vision. They're both the dealers and the winners in life's game. Their thinking towering above ours. Getting married is a bad deal. Better to keep the man you like around, control him, tease him, and give him everything but marriage. It saves a lot of hassle. So she made sure I became successful and famous, using resources to move me into high society. Even Oliver, who I once clashed with, eventually laughed it off and became a friend. Being in our 30s, we are mature enough to make peace with the world. Before, I might have hoped to marry Tiffany, but after turning 30, I let the idea go. Honestly, she's treated me well over the years. Sure, there have been other men, but I've always been the boyfriend, enjoying the perks of that role. Though the perks come with a price. I spent over a decade of my youth and even destroyed the life of the child we were expecting. Back then, I was 29 and Tiffany said she wanted a kid. She was 7 years older than me, and at 36, she felt it was time. We chose surrogacy. The year her grandmother passed away, Tiffany inherited 15% of TC Group shares. She had already acquired some scattered shares to gain full control of the company. With Christina gone, no one could hold her back. TC Group's building stood tall in the CBD, and it was a symbol of her achievements by the age of 36. Despite her busy schedule, she always made time to track the surrogacy process with me. She seemed to care about me and this child. But it didn't matter. She still hadn't said she'd marry me. I saw the truth for what it was. There was no point in wanting what couldn't be forced. So later, when the surrogate was 4 months along, I secretly bribed her to fake a miscarriage. Then I paid her to disappear. When Tiffany got the news, she was silent on the phone for a long time. I could feel her cold disappointment. I was in the apartment, calm as ever. I was her crafted winner, another medal in her life. It's funny how, when we met, I was just a nobody trying to survive. She, observing from above, played God, watching me struggle before picking me out of the game. I may wear fancy clothes now, but I'm still fundamentally the same. I don't think Tiffany ever truly respected me. She enjoyed watching me act fierce, like a wild animal. That's what caught her eye in the first place. She loved the process of taming me, but when 30-year-old me became calm and tame, there wasn't much left between us besides time gone by. Boring. It's inevitable. When the novelty fades, the white moonlight turns into a grainy old memory. Not only had she grown tired of it, but so had I. The unborn child became a sign that we were parting ways. I'm still technically her boyfriend, and she hasn't ended things. In truth, she hasn't reached out in a long while. I have a wide network, so I knew she was investing in a young actor's films. The guy moved into her Riverside apartment. She pushed him forward and later opened an agency just for him. From 30 to 33, we became more like friends. She might go months without contacting me, then suddenly call to ask how I am. Her voice remained indifferent, marked by the maturity and knowingness of an adult woman. On my birthday, she never forgot to send flowers to my office. Always a bouquet of white roses, pure and lightly fragrant. She even took me on a yacht for a celebration. We didn't even cut the cake before she had to rush off because the young actor called sick in the hospital. Those little gestures never fooled her. She doted on him willingly. I didn't really mind, but people assumed I would. Her assistant would cautiously tell me, "Joseph, don't worry. That guy can't compare to you. Tiffany still finds you important." I see it all too clearly. As she hasn't broken up with me, she's not considering giving any boy the title. I'm over 30. Beyond asking for anything, I make a good shield. People can say, "You see, Joseph has been with Tiffany for a decade and is just her boyfriend. Why do you think you'll get more? You might be younger, but you may not have his charisma." Joseph, with his striking looks at 20, was captivating. Time hasn't dulled his charm. Joseph is still handsome. He's a renowned fashion designer, a brand founder, and has half of high society as friends. His company employs hundreds. So yeah, I've got the looks and the reputation. Can't figure out why I'm still caught up with Tiffany. That desire to break free from her is growing stronger. I was actually a bit excited. In the middle of the night, while drunk, I took out her clothes she'd left at my place and started tearing them up one by one. Go to hell, Tiffany. Just go to hell. You're pushing 40, half a foot in the grave, and you think you can still control me? Hurry up and die. Was it love turned to hate? Something I couldn't have? Or just twisted psychology, losing it in a dark corner? Whatever it was, it felt good to me. I was eager to break free from her control. While she was cozying up to some minor celebrity, I wasn't just sitting around. I met a popular young actress named Anna. She was only 23 and had starred in several hit TV shows. Anna was truly young. She had a face that seemed sweet and fresh, her features refined and lively. Her smile was sweet, and she'd softly call me honey. We met at a party. She said she loved my clothing designs and wanted me to custom make something for her next award show. Custom make. That word just sounded so intimate. If Tiffany had cared about me just a little more, she'd have noticed the petite girl in a baseball cap sneaking into my apartment on many nights. She trusted me too much. She even showed up at my show during Fashion Week, something rare for her, to support me. I spitefully hoped this woman would show her true self so we could finally part ways. She sat in the audience, her deep eyes watching me. During an interview, I boldly announced that at 33, I planned to marry. I flaunted the ring on my hand, saying that yesterday, I accepted Anna's proposal and wished for everyone's blessings. I'd put up with Tiffany for too long, always following her lead like a puppet. So I smiled at her during the show, using the opportunity to break ties. But I quickly realized I'd made a mistake. The media spotlight was on her. Her expression was so cold, so detached. Finally, she smiled a bit, looked right at me and said, "Joseph." She called my name, her voice gentle and lingering, as if heartfelt. In that moment, I woke up like from a dream, drenched in sweat. I had forgotten I couldn't defy Tiffany. She's become more ruthless than when she was in her 20s, controlling her business empire, making any schemer in the Millers submit, as obedient as puppies. What's my success worth today? Anna's entertainment career? They crumble before her. My seemingly glorious career and huge company never truly escaped the reach of the TC Group. She's the dealer. On her chessboard, I had no right to rebel. She could squash us with a snap of her fingers. Yes, squash us. After the fashion show gala, a car waited for me outside. Tiffany sat inside, casual, window down, flicking her cigarette. Her elegant yet distant face showed a faint smile, with subtle implication. "Joseph, let's talk." Talk? I've always known. She's nothing but a charming savage, a wolf in sheep's clothing. 13 years of civility torn apart by my rebellion. She wasn't pretending anymore, hauling me back to my apartment. With a bang, the door shut behind us. Tiffany pushed me against the wall, pressing close from behind, her voice laced with a smile, but I couldn't see her face. "Joseph, have I been bad to you? Do you want to leave?" "Why? Don't call me Joseph." "Shut up. That Joseph is dead." She had me pinned tight, neck hurting, unable to move. I gritted my teeth, my tone fierce. She visibly paused, but wasn't mad. Rather, she laughed, quite pleased, looking at ease. "Yeah, you should be this fierce, like when I first met you, sharp-tongued. That's the Joseph I'm familiar with." My hair was a mess, flailing like a madman, cursing. "Let go of me. Go to hell. Find someone else." I never spoke to her this way, never dared. It's ridiculous. Since childhood, Alice said I was like a spring, always could be pushed a bit further, down more until it couldn't anymore, then springing up desperately, no holding back. And now I've had enough, completely breaking with her. Yet after my tirade, she wasn't angry, just watched me with interest, corners of her mouth curling. Her tone slow. "Fine, marriage is all it takes? I could marry you. Bali or Howard Castle, pick the wedding spot yourself." After the banquet, I'd watch them escort him away. In fact, if you'd just said the word, I'd rid myself of any other man. "Joseph, look how suited we are. Even if you didn't want our child and purposely got rid of him, I still can't let go, wanting to keep you forever." I looked at her shocked, slightly taken aback. She seemed pleased with my expression, her hand on my shoulder pressing harder, painfully. "Why are you so bad? Why so bad? I pulled you from the mud, cleaned you up, gave you money, made you win. Why treat me like this? What did I do wrong? Why do you do this to me? I'm really mad, Joseph. When did you learn to act in front of me? Scheme against me? I thought about teaching you a lesson but hesitated. You know I'm not soft-hearted. We've been together too long. I've invested emotionally, wanted a child of ours, yet you killed him." Awakening from surprise, I returned to calmness, laughed once. Her hand moved from my shoulder to my neck. She laughed too. "It's all right, Joseph. Let's give each other one more chance, a last chance. I'll accept the past. You want marriage, I can carry our child." "Tiffany, aren't you tired of saying all this?" I interrupted. The smile on my lips deepened. "Too late. I no longer wish to marry you. I've fallen for someone else. Don't you get it?" In this tug of war with Tiffany, I didn't think I'd lose, but her skill was evidently deeper. Her eyes suddenly cooled as she looked at me. Corner of her mouth curled, thumb gently brushing my face, pressing down. "No, Joseph, you don't understand. It doesn't matter which train you're on. I call the destination. I need you to get off cleanly. Got it?" My face hurt a bit from her stroking it. She was definitely smiling, but I felt a creepy chill in her voice. "Tiffany, just let me go." "No way," she said with a gentle smile. Right then, the apartment doorbell rang. With Anna's call to open the door, Tiffany let out a soft laugh. My face went pale. I felt like I was losing, and losing meant Anna was going to pay the price. She didn't even know what was going on before the guards outside held her down. Tiffany got up from the couch, slowly doing up the cuffs on her shirt. I grabbed her arm, my voice shaky. "Tiffany, it's all my fault. It has nothing to do with her. Please let her go." She looked down at me, patted my face with a look of pity. "Don't be scared. I need to know who's caught your eye and made you think thoughts you shouldn't have." Tiffany hadn't met Anna. She was a successful businesswoman. Her only interest in celebrities was probably for investments and sponsorships. She happened to see Alice while Alicia was endorsing a product from TC Group. When the door opened, my back was to her, and I covered my eyes, trembling almost all over. She thought I was crying, but she wouldn't know. In that instant, my eyes concealed a sinister intention. I shook uncontrollably because, for this moment, I was in control. I had waited so long for this day. I was beyond excited. So when Tiffany looked back at me, shocked, and said, "Joseph, you still haven't forgotten her," I just laughed. Forgotten? Who would forget a childhood friend? The childhood sweetheart, the family you depended on. 13 years since. I still remember every one of her smiles, her boldness, her arrogance. I recall when we first came to this city, couldn't even afford the cheapest place and had no food. Alice would sell her blood because the blood donation center gave out milk and bread. I drank the milk reluctantly, saying pure milk is so gamey, like drinking your blood. She'd smack my head, "Joseph, you're gross." Later we both worked hard to find jobs, suffered through anything. I worked as a waiter. She delivered food. I was 18, she 19. She got so tan she looked like charcoal. When she smiled, her teeth were so white. She'd boast, "Joseph, when I make it big, I'm buying us a fancy place." Alice and I, growing up together, we were kids. She said she'd never leave me behind, would take me wherever, even to the ends of the earth. I believed her, but then she died. It's okay though, Anna is still here. They look so alike. I'm Joseph, a well-known fashion designer. People in this world like onions, layer and layer to package themselves. But some folks love peeling back those layers, exposing hidden stuff. I've been exposed before. They dug into my past, found I was once a poor boy who waited tables and caught Tiffany's eye. Honestly, I wanted them to dig deeper. But somehow, they stopped short, couldn't uncover Alice. Alice, and the place we grew up, quietly rotted away in my memory. A few years ago, my studio released a clothing line called Wilderness Decay. Industry insiders called it my most bizarre creation. Wild imagination, heavy use of black and bright colors, broken patterns symbolizing death, haunting at first glance. That's why Wilderness didn't sell too well. It only appealed to a niche audience. During marketing meetings, the PR team asked about my inspiration. I sat at the head of the table and said, I was born in a backward village. Over the years, I kept having this dream, back in that place, walking on endless grassland. I walked for a long time, laid down in the grass, didn't want to move, then slowly died, decayed, eyes turning like dead fish, skin festering, bugs crawling over me. The conference room was quiet. They stared wide-eyed at me, but I felt so good, with the wind blowing and the world so peacefully quiet. That statement wasn't used, deemed too dark and horrifying. I didn't mind. When I was the last one in the room, I stood by the window, gazing at the vibrant city. No one cares about that kind of forgotten place, a poor, ignorant southern village from the 90s. If a family had too many boys, chances were they'd give one away at birth. Nearby villages had just one school. Boys often dropped out before middle school, work for a few years, then start families at 17 or 18. That was the fate of most boys, and nobody thought much of it. No one told us the meaning of life or taught resistance and self-redemption. What's education? Obey parents, live to eat, drink, and live. Backward places breed sin. Sounds like a fairy tale? I won't hide it. I was born there. My aunt was a rapist and murderer. She picked targets, stalked them, committed countless crimes. One day she dumped a body and finally got caught. I was 7 when they grabbed her. I overheard my parents, my dad saying to my mom, The cops have no evidence. It rained heavily those days. If she can hold out and not confess, she won't get executed. Under a dim light bulb, their faces were hard to see. They didn't care about the truth or the boy who got killed. They just complained about the cops and worried about their relative. My aunt held out. She was beaten nearly to death but didn't confess. So, she wasn't charged with murder. When I was 7, she went to jail. When I was 17, her good behavior got her out. No harm done. My uncle and cousin were waiting for her, a family reunion. People start believing in justice, but over time, with my parents drilling ideas into my head, I started to doubt. Maybe my aunt was innocent. She lost her way, committed a mistake, but didn't deserve death. The cops wanted a forced confession, pin a murder on her. My little sister spat, "Stupid cops." When I was playing at Alice's house, I told her brother Sam that my aunt didn't kill anyone. She's innocent. Alice was looking at me like I was crazy and said, "Are you nuts? Everyone knows she killed someone. It's lucky she didn't get executed." She went on, "Joseph, you should be executed too. Your aunt's a murderer, and you're covering for her." That year I was 11 and Alice was 12. We were neighbors and grew up together, but we didn't get along. We argued a lot. I only went to her house to hang out with her brother Sam. Sam's 5 years older than me. He quit school before finishing middle school and worked at a textile factory in town. He liked wearing clean shirts, kept his hair neat and short, and had a bright smile. I always wondered how old Johnston, who was just an old shepherd with wrinkles from smiling all the time, could have kids as good-looking as Sam and Alice. I never saw their mom, and neither did Alice. The word was she was young, taken from another town by human traffickers. Old Johnston bought her, had Sam and then Alice, and then she ran away. When crime happens around you all the time, you start to get numb to it. Like justice gets all twisted. The villagers thought old Johnston was the victim. They called Alice's mom heartless for running off on them. That's the messed up place where Alice and I grew up. Alice's mom wasn't the only woman taken like that, but those women accepted their fate, and with time, nobody even remembered they were once trafficked. As long as you're fed, does it matter where you live? Women are supposed to get married and have kids, right? Where and to whom doesn't really matter. That's how I grew up, the same as Sam. I once asked Alice if she resented her mom, like the villagers said. Alice said no, but sometimes he wondered about her. He never saw her, not even a picture. I probably should have asked Sam since Alice and I didn't get along. But Sam was always nice, telling her not to bully me. Like that time she said I should be executed too, I cried. Sam comforted me, wiped my tears, and told Alice, "Joseph's a kid. You can talk about adults, but don't take it out on him." Alice always insulted me, and we fought often, yet I still went to her house. My little sister at home was a spoiled brat. She was a tyrant, and I had to give in on everything. The TV always played her cartoons. If I dared to change the channel, I'd get slapped. So I went to Alice's house to watch what I liked. When Sam was there, I could watch anything, and he'd even give me snacks. If he wasn't home, I had to deal with Alice kicking me out. She'd block the TV with, "Joseph, you've got some nerve." And I'd say, "Just let me watch and I'll leave after this episode." She'd just stand there and say, "Who do you think you are? Always hanging out here? Alice, you're my big sis, really. Get lost." This happened so often that my tears were just part of it. But I'd still go there after school, sometimes even staying overnight with Sam. It didn't happen a lot since my parents worked late at the feed factory and expected me to do chores and take care of my sister. I'd do laundry and cook, asking my second-grade sister to help pump water, which she refused. We didn't get along since she always tattled, getting me yelled at by our parents. I bit my tongue until I snapped and dunked her head in the water bucket. Like tattling. "Huh? I'll drown you." She freaked out and cried. My parents returned, and with a glare, didn't say anything. After that, I stood up for myself like a spring. I'd ask her to pump water, and she'd do it. I didn't like my sister much or Alice, but Alice was a better sister to Sam, taking care of things when their parents couldn't. I envied that sibling bond since she was obedient to Sam, even if she didn't like me. When I was 13, there was an outdoor movie in town. My parents grudgingly let me go with Sam after much pleading. We biked there, with Sam giving me a lift. Halfway, Alice told me to hop on her bike. "You want to wear my brother out?" Sam just laughed, Joseph's light as a feather. Still, I switched to Alice's bike and teased her. "Don't dump me in a ditch." Alice snapped, "Are you nuts?" And I replied, "Got any medicine for those?" Alice said, "Yeah, want some for crazies?" And I said, "Sure, bring it on." "Joseph, you're nuts." "Ha, you don't have any, do you?" That summer at 13, I can't remember what movie we watched. It was crowded and lively. Sam wore a clean white shirt, bought soda and snacks. I hesitated, afraid, and Alice teased me. "Don't eat that. It's got poop." I was shocked, and Sam scolded her. "Alice, stop with the gross stuff." I snapped out of it, took a big bite, and mumbled loudly at her, "I'd eat it even if it's poop. I love it." "None of your business." Alice was taken aback for a second, then couldn't hold it in and started laughing. Sam laughed too, unable to help himself, and gave me a light punch. "You two are enough. That's gross." To be honest, even though Alice often rubs me the wrong way, she's really loyal. When I was in 7th grade, she was in 8th, and we were at the same school. One time, a dropout punk cornered me at the school gate, saying he wanted to hang out and take me to the town. I was terrified, but Alice came over, grabbed me, and said, "He's not going. He's coming home with me to do homework." My face was still pale when she dragged me away. Alice still gave me a hard time, but at our doorstep, she said, "Walk home with me from now on." Both Alice and I did well academically. We were at the top of our class. But my parents said they'd only let me go as far as middle school. "A boy just needs to read and write a little," they said. Eventually, I'd have to settle down. They worked hard to make money and didn't want to waste it on me. They'd rather spend it all on my sister. If she did well in school, she'd continue. If not, she'd go to a trade school. They'd support her fully. My parents were, like many others, biased. They'd scold me or hit me because of her, and I'd often feel wronged. I felt resentment and dissatisfaction. But watching them hustle with just bread and pickles at the feed factory, their relentless work, I'd forgive. They wore the same old clothes year after year, and their hair was graying early. I figured, whatever, it's normal to spoil a daughter. I guess I'd made peace with it, despite the resentment. I was only 13 and already that brainwashed. The first time I considered rebelling was after watching an outdoor movie. I spent the night at Alice's with Sam. Sam knew I was smart and showed me a letter. It was from his old junior high desk mate. Mary was the only girl in our neighboring village who got into college. She was not only smart but lucky too. Her parents gave her up to her aunt who loved her and had money, so she got to keep studying. In her letter to Sam, she included a postcard of a city skyline at night, all bright lights over the river. Her account of college life and dreams for the future really touched us. Sam said, "Joseph, study hard. Get into college and you can be like Mary with a great future." I told him, "How?" "My parents only want me to finish middle school." Sam thought for a moment and said, "If you get in the top 3 in the county, tuition's free. The school would probably convince your parents to let you continue after that." Top 3 in the county, that was tough. I was only 4th in my class. "Don't lose hope. There's still a chance if you try hard," Sam said. Easier said than done. It felt like trying to reach the stars. Shenzhou 5 just launched, and you think reaching the stars is hard? Sam joked. "I'm no Shenzhou 5. I don't have rockets on my back. Alice is smart too. You can ask her if you don't understand something." "She'd never help me. She can't stand me." Says who? "Last time we bought sunflower seeds. Alice wanted chicken-flavored ones 'cause you like them." "No way. You're lying." "I'm serious, she said it." "Repeat what she said word for word." "Go on." "She said get chicken-flavored seeds. Someone likes eating poop." That night Sam and I couldn't sleep. We imagined the city from the postcard. The tall buildings and bright lights across the river. Would we ever see it for real? Sam said he doubted he'd get the chance. He met a girl who worked in car repair through some introductions. "Nice girl," he said. They were dating. If all went well, he'd be married next year. Alice and I met the girl before during the outdoor movie. She came over to talk to Sam and said hi. She wore a mechanic's old clothes but was pretty, with a shy demeanor. Life was routine yet chaotic at the same time. Sam was busy working and dating. That year flew by. When I moved up to 8th grade, Alice was in 9th. We both studied harder than ever, even reciting books while walking. Sam set his wedding date. He was all lit up, literally glowing when he smiled. He got busy, said there was a lot to prepare. He didn't have a mom. Old Johnston was always smiling but clueless, just good at herding sheep. I pooled the money I saved secretly, trying to buy Sam a nice white shirt as a gift. It was a sweltering summer. Sam loved wearing shirts in the heat. He looked good, clean-cut, with a bright smile. After a heavy summer rain, the river swelled. He got his wedding photos done, brought them home. He looked like a movie star, in a suit with his bride in white beside him. I got that shirt brought back from town, waiting to give it to him. But he didn't come home after his late shift the next day. He was dead. We waited all night. He never came back. They found his body in the swollen river the following day. There were no streetlights or cameras. The cops said he accidentally fell in. The case closed just like that. Sam got cremated and buried. Alice was missing for a while after that. I was lost every day, no clue where she went, like a zombie, terrified to sleep alone, waking up crying and drenched in sweat at night. My mom, surprisingly compassionate for once, grumbled but stayed with me those nights. Months later, word came from town. Someone got killed, an owner's nephew from the textile mill. Alice killed him. Rumor had it that this deviant eyed Sam. Sam brushed him off. When Sam was heading home, the guy blocked him, assaulted him, then tossed him into the river. The truth could have come out sooner, but in a place like this, it was easily buried. Not until Alice found the culprit and stabbed him did things clear up for us. What really gives me chills is that Sam's girlfriend knew about all this. Even after Sam died, she never showed up. Later, her mom would cry to people, saying her daughter was pitiful, beaten to the point of losing her sanity. That year, Alice was 15 and underage. She spent 3 years in juvenile detention before being released. By the time she got out, I had dropped out of school for 2 years and was 17. That was also the year Alice and I ran away together, because my spring had been pushed to the bottom again. My parents worked at a feed factory and knew a fertilizer seller named Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee had a daughter over 200 pounds with some mental challenges who hadn't been married off. Despite that, Mr. Lee claimed his daughter had high standards and wouldn't settle for just any guy. But they were rich, having made a fortune in fertilizers and feed, and they owned a black sedan. He said all his property would go to his daughter and son-in-law in the future. Once the son-in-law joined the family, they promised to treat him like their own son. My parents were tempted and called me to the factory for a look-see. I didn't know what was going on until that silly girl said she liked me. My parents eagerly informed me of this, forcing me to date her, humor her, and marry her. They brainwashed and persuaded me endlessly. After Sam died, I had been feeling pretty repressed, but that didn't mean I'd let them manipulate me. At 17, I started fighting back by refusing to meet her and rejecting the marriage proposal. I told them I'd rather die than marry her. I never had high hopes for my family. I always knew my parents were biased and didn't love me enough, and my sister was selfish and self-centered. But I never thought they'd try to force me into submission. They arranged with Mr. Lee to bring his silly daughter to our house and lock us in a room. That day, I must have screamed terribly, like a vengeful ghost crawling out of hell. Have you ever experienced being pinned down by over 200 pounds of flesh? She may have had a few mental issues, but she was strong like a wall. In that small room, she left me no escape. It was the first time I realized how terrifying power disparity can be. I opened my mouth to bite her, and she cried out in pain. But then she punched me and I blacked out. Of course, she didn't succeed in the end. Guess why? I regained consciousness and, staring at that chubby face, suddenly became clear-headed. I went berserk, hitting her, screaming, pulling up my pants, and trashing everything in the room. Despite the size difference and gap in strength between us, She didn't succeed. And still, my parents didn't open the door. But Alice, from next door, heard the commotion. Defying old Johnston's objections, she kicked the door down. I couldn't believe my eyes as Alice held me, laughing and crying hysterically. 18-year-old Alice held me just like her brother Sam once did, wiping my tears with trembling hands and voice. Her eyes burned red with anger. "Don't be afraid, we'll call the cops and press charges," she said. No wonder she learned the law during her time in detention. But how could we report this? Would it even help? The culprits were my parents, and the crime was a failed attempt. It felt absurd, like the most ridiculous thing I'd heard in my life. Alice got kicked out by my parents, who called her a murderer and warned her to never come back. Yet she stood stubbornly in our yard staring at me. I saw my dad hit her, pushing her away. I ran over like a lunatic, clinging to my dad's leg, screaming, "She's not the killer. Your sister is. Your sister is a murderer and a rapist. She should be executed. You're just as guilty for covering for her." My dad slapped me hard. That night, they locked me in my room. Through the crack in the door, I watched their lights stay on deep into the night, wondering what they were plotting, scheming. This place, filled with rapists, murderers, traffickers, bums, lunatics, fools, everyone was like a menacing ghost. I rummaged through my drawer, found a plastic bag, put it over my head, and tied it tight. When I felt I was suffocating, the lock outside was forced open. It was Alice who had climbed over the wall to get in. The night was so dark I couldn't see her face, but she ripped the bag off my head, holding me tightly. She cried. My childhood friend, who'd always bicker and fight with me, shivered and kissed me, saying, "Joseph, I'll take you away. Will you come with me? Joseph, let's leave and never come back." When she said that, I never told her that I felt like a dying fish finally seeing rain, overwhelmed to the point of almost not being able to breathe. At 17, Alice and I ran away together. That night, as she stood at her house's doorstep, she glanced at the lit-up sheep pen. Inside was old Johnston, who slept in the sheep's smell, guarding over them. I knew he was awake. Alice merely glanced, said nothing, and we left. Life's road is long, and I always remember how she held my hand tightly. We ran for what seemed like eternity, thinking we had broken the chains of fate and headed towards rebirth and freedom. We took a bus, switched to a train with no goal or direction, just the two of us close together. Bright city lights, a sea of people. Neon lights shimmer above elevated bridges amidst the hustle and bustle. I don't know if this is the place on Mary's postcard, but indeed it has a river with brightly lit skyscrapers across it at night, sparkling like a rainbow. Settling here was tough. First, Alice and I lived a tough life. We slept under bridges, picked up trash, searched everywhere for jobs, shamelessly asking if anyone was hiring. We hit rock bottom when we got scammed by a shady job agency and couldn't even afford a meal. When we couldn't eat, Alice would donate blood. I drank milk and cried, saying it tasted too metallic, like I was drinking her blood. She'd smack my head and say, "Joseph, you're so gross." I once got food poisoning, acute gastroenteritis, and couldn't even afford medicine afterward. I went to the pharmacy to get meds on credit. They kicked me out, thinking I was a scammer. She ran to the clinic, begging the doctor, only to be thrown out like a bum. In the end, I was clutching my stomach, saying it hurt, while laughing until I cried. She glared at me, a little red-faced, and said, "Come here, I'll give you a rub." We wandered under the bridge, hugging each other for warmth. Alice and I were getting used to the city, blending into it. Even if we had no place to call our own at first, we felt at ease and hopeful. We didn't stay down for long. I met a guy with curly hair when I was asking for stomach medicine on the street. He wore sunglasses and looked loaded. I asked him for meds, and he straight up handed me a $100 bill. I said, "Mister, you got it wrong." He slid his glasses down to glance at me. Next thing, I was working as a waiter at his aunt's 5-star hotel. Thomas was the first helpful guy I met in the city. He casually gave me a business card and a job. Then I was out of his mind. I was the youngest waiter there. The manager said I wasn't even 18 and should have been sent away. but I looked decent enough with sharp features. Alice and I turned things around. I became a waiter at a fancy hotel, and she started delivering food. The hotel provided food and lodging, so I stayed in a dorm. She was in some temporary housing. We worked hard for half a year, saved up, and I couldn't wait to rent a place for us. She said we already had places to stay, why waste money? I said it wasn't the same. I wanted to be with her, to see her every day. Alice grinned, her sunburned face turning a bit red. We bought a kettle, wash basin, slippers, and bedding. There was just one bed in the rented room. We used to huddle under the bridge for warmth all the time. Now in bed, when I tried to wrap my arms around her, breathing softly, she pushed me away, uncomfortably saying, "Joseph, keep your distance." My heart sank. I sat up in my pajamas. "Alice, what's that supposed to mean? Met someone else? Joseph, are you nuts?" Not answering, feeling guilty. "Huh? You jerk." We ended up playfully arguing until we were both out of breath, lying on the bed. I ordered her, "Hug me." She put her arm over me. There. Hugged. Tighter. "Fine. I'll strangle you." She rolled over and mock choked me with her arm. I blushed, slapped at her. "Let go, dummy. Get away." We dreamed of the future with endless possibilities. Alice eventually got a better job, earning more. We moved to a place with a shared bathroom and kitchen. It wasn't fancy, but we were happy. On my 19th birthday, I took the day off. Alice and I had a dinner date planned. I didn't expect to run into a shocker when I picked her up after work. I looked up and was taken aback seeing Tiffany, her eyebrows raised. "Tiffany?" She was with a bunch of suited-up guys, all staring at me, confused. The first time I met her was when I was 18, just moved to the 3rd floor of the hotel. In that lavish room, she dined with friends. Ms. Jessie, our hotel owner, was there too. Jessie was over 40, and Tiffany looked much younger but was seemingly the one being toasted endlessly. Lisa, my co-worker, said that's TC Group's Tiffany. "Looks young, huh? But she's powerful, her grandma's Christina." I didn't know who Christina or TC Group was. Lisa rattled off some major mall names in the city, saying TC owned them. I thought, well, okay, not too shabby. As usual, I cautiously served dishes, stood aside with Lisa, ready for their orders. For some reason, it felt like Tiffany glanced my way a few more times. As they drank, she leaned back, casually asked Ms. Jessie, "Do you have such young waiters here?" With a soft voice, she looked at me. Everyone else did, too. Jessie paused, then called me over. "What's your name? How old are you?" Even though she was the owner, she didn't come around often. So, unfamiliarity was expected, especially since I'd just moved upstairs. Standing in front of them, I replied honestly, "I'm Joseph, 18, legal now." At the start, my age was a frequent question. I wasn't short, but slim. Even the smallest uniform needed adjustments. We waiters gelled our hair back, wore bow ties, and kept neat. With fair skin and dark eyebrows, they said I hardly needed grooming. My eyes bright as stars. They teased me, calling me tender like a green onion, meaning immature. True, even at 18, I looked pretty youthful. Back then, I'd shy away from age questions. Now, I stood tall, declaring adulthood proudly. Feeling earnest, I shared my age with seriousness in my voice. Ms. Jessie didn't press, but Tiffany smiled faintly at me. I assumed that was our first encounter. Later, she told me she'd seen me on the hotel's 1st floor before. Without being 18 yet, I'd worked downstairs half a year, not knowing about the cap fee from drink suppliers. Mine got pocketed by a co-worker. The monthly cap fee was over $1,000. It was huge for me then. When I asked him, he denied it, then admitted but claimed he was broke. After he promised me he would pay the overdue wages, he kept stalling. I confronted him, and he cussed me out. I reached my breaking point. During a shift change, when he let his guard down, I grabbed his hair and dragged him to the 1st floor bathroom. I shoved his head into the sink and turned on the water. Amidst the rushing water, I yelled, "Do you think you can disrespect me? You owe me money. Pay me back or else." I was the youngest server at the restaurant with a baby face to match. Normally, I let things slide when people picked on me. But there's only so much you can bottle up before you lash out. I was furious. 5 grand. I may look young, but I'm pretty strong. I usually volunteered to help carry supplies into the kitchen, appreciating the chefs who always gave me leftover desserts. I kept my cool for as long as I could, not wanting to fight. But he was pushing his luck, so I pushed his head hard. He cried and promised to pay up tomorrow. I slapped him and snapped, "You pay me now. I want it now, every last cent." Of course, this incident landed us in front of the manager. He tattled on me, crying, but the manager scolded us both since it was a fact he had taken my tip money. Eventually, I got my 5 grand back and that chapter was closed in my mind. But I didn't expect that Tiffany happened to have dinner plans at our restaurant that day. As she passed through the lobby on her way upstairs, she must have overheard the commotion from the bathroom. When she came out, she saw me dragging the guy by his hair to see the manager. Maybe it was the strong first impression, but she glanced my way again in the 3rd-floor private booth and asked my age. I thought our second meeting was at the Park Bridge, where I was selling DVDs. However, for her, it was already our 3rd encounter. When I realized this, I attempted to take back the DVD. To my surprise, she picked it up and examined it closely. And right then, Alice showed up. I don't know what came over me. Quickly, I grabbed Alice and bolted. As we dashed off the bridge, Tiffany stayed put, but I couldn't worry about her. It was lively at the park in the evening. Neon lights started flickering at the end of the street. The sunset mingled with the neon glow, casting a warm shine over us. We ran until we were exhausted, laughing breathlessly. We decided to splurge on a steak dinner, costing a whopping $70 per person. Back home, I grumbled to Alice. "So overpriced and not even good. Totally not worth it." Alice just huffed. "Wasn't it you who wanted to go?" That night, Alice tried to slip something on my finger while I slept. My instincts kicked in. I opened my eyes and turned on the light. She handed me a ring, silver. I grinned with pride. "Caught you. Told me you didn't get me a birthday gift, and here you are giving me a ring. Alice, what are you up to?" Her face showed a hint of frustration at being found out. She hugged my neck, squeezing, and said, "Call me honey." "Not doing it?" "No." She started tickling me, and I couldn't hold back, laughing to tears and begging, "Honey." Satisfied, Alice let go of me, and the next second I was cuddling up to her, kissing her face repeatedly. Alice's eyes sparkled as she looked at me, her face flushed. I knew it. She may appear feisty, but she's truly pure at heart. Before I turned 18, we always shared a bed, snuggling up for warmth in the winter. Alice was unbelievably good to me, endlessly patient. When I got a fever at night, she'd run out to get medicine, feed it to me, and stay by my side, constantly wiping me down with a towel. Even though she was working on a construction site during the day, I found her with reddened eyes the next morning. I told her to take a day off and rest. She said it was nothing and asked me to rest well. She promised to bring back whatever I'd like to eat. She's only a year older than me but takes such good care of me. Being with her makes me feel so secure. I hugged her neck, resting my face on her chin, tears flowing. I said, "Alice, why are you so good to me? No one's ever treated me this well before." She called me silly, saying kindness is mutual. I'm good to her, so of course, she treats me well. We're the closest people on earth. I promised we'd always be together, never separating. She agreed, saying she'd never leave me, no matter where we went. She'd even tie me to her waist. After that, I wore the ring Alice gave me with a wide grin at work every day. Lisa joked I looked like I'd hit the jackpot. I boasted it was even better than winning $1 million. She snapped me out of my daydream. "Boss is looking for you. Hurry downstairs." I asked who's looking for me. "The big boss, Ms. Jessie." "What does she want?" "I'd like to know too. Tell me later." As I headed to the lobby, I was worried, thinking I hadn't messed up anything serious. Even if I did, it wouldn't warrant Ms. Jessie's personal attention. Arriving downstairs with my heart in knots, Ms. Jessie flashed a smile at me. "Joseph, come here." She handed me an envelope, asking me to drop it at the TC group for Tiffany in M building. I told her, Ms. Jessie, but I'm still on the clock. She waved me off, saying I was off now and could go home after the drop-off. When I hesitated, she added, off you go. It was supposed to be someone else delivering it, but Tiffany mentioned having something to return to you, so she asked specifically for you. By the way, when did you two meet? I shared the DVD sales story, and Ms. Jessie laughed heartily. As I changed clothes to head out, I marveled at how thoughtful Tiffany was. Even for something as minor as a $20 to $30 DVD, she made sure to return it. Definitely worth the trip. In the bustling downtown business district, I felt small among the towering skyscrapers. Going to M building, I almost got lost. Finally reaching their front desk, a well-presented lady made several calls to confirm I was indeed there for Tiffany. Then, she guided me to the elevator. I passed through the busy company, seeing people briskly moving around. Those folks radiated confidence, striding powerfully. They dressed impeccably, carried themselves with sophistication, and spoke rapid English I could barely grasp. The floor was so clean it was practically glowing. The space seemed to spiral upward, and the bright white fluorescent lights almost made me dizzy. Yup, that feeling hit me again, the same one I got when I first pushed open the door to the private room on the 3rd floor of the hotel. I looked down at my cheap shoes and my cheap clothes, then glanced at the receptionist. She was in a sharp, professional outfit with a light scent of perfume. I couldn't help but feel relieved. Thank goodness I was only here to drop off and pick up some stuff. I'd be out of here soon. People can be really sensitive, almost like animals, able to sniff out if something feels off in their territory. Some places just don't feel right. They make you uneasy. Fear comes from the unknown, but also from what's known. I often think back to that moment, seeing myself as a boy from a small village, shivering as he faced the world's first projection of a dream. That dream was multidimensional, fragmented, like mirrors surrounding him, each one reflecting painful light on the bare spots of his poverty. He dropped out of junior high having nothing to his name. He always thought he'd left his village, but standing in the midst of that dream, it was clear he'd never really escaped. His biggest poverty was in his mind. 19-year-old Joseph was always brave, with no intention of turning back. Life didn't offer him that luxury, and he didn't want it. So he tried hard to stand tall, refusing to look scared. I'm just here to drop something off and pick something up. Nothing to worry about, he told himself. The receptionist handed me over to a tall guy who said his name was Chris, Tiffany's executive assistant. He looked like he was in his 30s, with dark skin and deep brown eyes. Chris was obviously mixed race. I couldn't help but stare a bit. He seemed friendly and smiled easily as he took me to the CEO's office. I expected to find Tiffany seated seriously at her desk, but instead, she was dressed casually, her collar slightly open, holding a pool cue and shooting balls. Her office was massive, big enough to have a relaxation area and a lounge. Chris left me there and closed the door behind him. I placed the envelope on the side table and said carefully, "Tiffany, I've brought you the documents." She glanced over, not saying a word. So I just stood there watching her play pool. I didn't understand much about pool, never having seen someone play up close before, but it was clear she was good. Every shot was perfect, and each ball pocketed flawlessly. I ended up clapping for her out of respect. She looked up at me with a half smile and asked, "Want to give it a try?" "No, I don't know how," I admitted. "You can learn," she said casually, putting the balls back on the table. "Want me to teach you?" "No need, Tiffany. I'm just here to drop off these documents." I waved my hand almost frantically. "And pick up my DVD." She put the pool cue down and went over to her desk, pulling the DVD I needed out of a drawer. When I reached for it, I couldn't help but peek at it. Sure enough, it was an action film, still sealed, so it's sellable. I put it back in my messenger bag and noticed Tiffany watching me. Amused, she asked, "Do you know what that is?" "Yeah," I replied. "Have you watched it?" "Nope," I shook my head honestly. "My girlfriend doesn't let me. She says it won't sell if I open it up." Alice said a lot more than that, insisting it wasn't worth watching until I turned 20. Alice is quite innocent like that. We'd shared a bed for a year without anything happening. I was frustrated, trying to make a move whenever I could, and she'd always grab my wrist, scolding, "Behave, you're still a minor." I'd protest, "Where I'm from, 17-year-olds already marry and have kids." Alice would get serious, pat my head, and say, "Joseph, you know that's not good. They have no options." My mood would drop instantly. I'd grumble, "Some seem pretty happy." "Well, they haven't seen the outside world. If they could, they wouldn't settle for that life," she said. I lay there quietly, holding Alice, grateful we escaped but aware not everyone is that lucky. Some springs just get squashed flat, some get to breathe just before they're crushed again, and some are stretched into wires before they even start. This conversation always felt heavy. I hated when Alice brought it up. It reminded me of everything that made me anxious, sad, and scared. So our relationship stayed low-key until I turned 18. One day, I told her, "I'm really not that young anymore. You can check." Her face flushed as she nervously put her hand on my waist and warned, "I have no experience. Don't laugh at me." I promised, "Neither do I. We'll learn together." Maybe our discussions got too intense. When I suggested buying a DVD player for movies, she refused right away. "Wait till you're 20. Just ordinary movies," I protested. "Nope, you'll watch it when I'm not home," she argued. "I'm an adult." "Barely," she snapped. "Give it 2 years." "Why?" I frowned. "Seeing everything just causes trouble," she said, looking mournfully at me and murmuring about trouble for her, too. Back from Tiffany's with the DVD, I was ready to leave, but Chris, her assistant, had just brought in 2 freshly brewed coffees. The table also had a fruit platter and some fresh-looking pastries. Tiffany took a sip of her coffee, naturally guiding me to the guest sofa and motioning for me to sit. I couldn't think of a reason to refuse, thinking she might have something for me to pass on to Ms. Jessie. But just as I sat down, her phone rang, and she stepped aside to take the call. This call took a while. She sounded cold and tired, and eventually quite impatient. I waited for quite some time and took a sip of the coffee Chris had given me, mentioning he added extra milk and sugar because I might not like it. Swear to God, it was my first time trying coffee. I knew coffee was bitter, but I didn't expect it to be that bitter. As soon as it touched my lips, I spat it right out. Tiffany, still on the phone, glanced back at me. I fumbled for a tissue in my bag, trying to clean up the mess. As I did, she walked over, still talking on the phone, but stopped in front of me. Before I could react, she wiped the corner of my mouth with her hand. We both froze. She hung up and said, "Sorry, I'm a bit OCD." Tiffany looked calm, and I quickly replied, "It's okay, Tiffany. Can I head out now? Have some fruit before you go?" She insisted. I had someone prepare it specially. I didn't quite get what she meant by specially prepared, but sat back down. I figured not eating would be rude, so I dug in with a fork. Part of it was wanting to finish up and leave. The fruit was genuinely tasty and included some types I hadn't tried before. So one bite led to another, and I cleared the whole plate thoughtfully. Tiffany just sat quietly, watching me eat, seeming quite pleased as she occasionally brushed her thumb along something, her eyes deep and focused. Her gaze left me feeling uneasy. I was about to say I was done and ready to go when she spoke first. Slowly, "Your girlfriend's name is Alice, right?" Mention Alice and I couldn't just leave. She seemed rather interested, asking lots about her. I was curious why she brought Alice up out of the blue. Regardless of her motives, I quickly realized she looked down on her. When I mentioned Alice selling CDs by the bridge, she smiled with a hint of mockery. That knowledge irritated me. I told her, "My girlfriend works hard and is ambitious. To me, she's amazing, and she's the person I love most." "Whatever you mean, Tiffany, don't look down on her or me. We owe you nothing and aren't your employees." Tiffany seemed surprised by my bluntness. Seeing my discomfort, she chuckled and admitted, "Sorry, didn't mean to belittle you. But yes, I don't think highly of her." I frowned, glaring at her. She smirked, "Joseph, you're young, handsome, resilient. You have a bright future, not serving tables or hiding from city inspectors by some bridge. You think your girlfriend is great due to your limited experience. That's all." People with limited horizons are like those short folks at a show. They laugh because others do without knowing why. Years later, they realize they've been the butt of the joke. Tiffany gazed at me, relaxed, her tone careless. My frown deepened. Tiffany, I'm not highly educated. What's your point here? She said. If she can't give you what you want, you shouldn't waste your time. A cicada dying before winter is a shame. You could live a broader life with me, I could offer that. That truly shocked me. You're suggesting, like a sugar baby? I asked incredulously. Don't think of it so crudely. It's investing, she replied, glancing at me. This could change your destiny. Front row life, being your own lead, achieving what you want by letting go of a bit of baggage. You're smart, you should know what's best. But why me? I asked. No reason, she shrugged. Sometimes connections spark instantaneously. I felt generous and maybe it meant nothing. How much would it take to buy me? I scoffed, grasping her game. Tiffany replied, 200,000, it's your current worth. It was business to her, sums and values. I'm just a regular guy, as she put it, young, resilient. Even if I'm a short guy in the stands, 19-year-old Joseph's choice is his own. She has no right to judge Alice or me. I smiled disdainfully. Tiffany, Alice is not baggage. I would give anything for her, my life even. You believe that? Tiffany raised an eyebrow. You laugh all you want, at our love supreme, our ignorance. It doesn't matter. You, with only money while we have everything, but, I said. Don't mess with a young man's pride. I smirked, leaving. Letting a summer cicada meet snow, nonsense. Forcing it to, that's just foolish. After that, I didn't see Tiffany for 6 months. I never told Alice either, as if it never happened. Everyone carried on as usual. She's still the high and mighty CEO of TC Group. Meanwhile, I'm just a waiter at the hotel. We're like two lines that were never meant to cross. By the end of that year, their group booked the whole hotel for an annual gala. After 6 months, I saw her again. Tiffany, surrounded by a crowd, still looking sharp in her suit, with her sharp eyes and an air of aloofness. Their gala was a hit, lively with a few famous stars attending. I was standing at the entrance when she walked past, chatting with a charming male celebrity, her gaze indifferent, not even a glance my way. I felt relieved. Half a year ago, I had quite a showdown in her office. Felt great then, but I was worried afterward. She's friends with Ms. Jessie, and I feared she might make my life difficult and get me fired. Luckily, she's not that kind of person. Later in the gala, something happened. While Tiffany was giving a speech on stage, a woman in a similar red dress, fueled by booze, stood up and made a scene. Her name was Rose, Tiffany's cousin and a general manager at TC Group. She's also one of the Miller's heirs. With an arrogant glare, she pointed at Tiffany, questioning her authority. Tiffany had just announced a decision that Rose clearly didn't agree with. It seemed like it had been brewing for a while. Watching from the stage, Tiffany kept her composure, raising an eyebrow at her. She didn't say anything, just smiled with a touch of mockery. Diana, Rose's sister, stood up and slapped her, demanding she leave. Rose stormed off, apparently sobered by the slap. Despite the drama, the event continued with everyone pretending nothing happened. As for me, I just focused on doing my job, serving the guests. Soon enough, I was needed. Chris, someone I'd met once, handed me a cup of tea, asking me to take it up to Tiffany, who had had too much to drink and was resting upstairs. He hurried off, leaving me to it. I made my way to the quiet floor. Entering, the room was dimly lit, and Tiffany was lying on the couch, eyes closed, seemingly asleep. Her face, cast in shadow, was still. I placed the tea on the table and quietly mentioned that it was there. With no response, I was about to leave when a thought scared me. What if she was dead? Standing still, my heart raced as I reached out to check her breathing. Suddenly, she opened her eyes and pulled me onto the sofa. Startled, I yelled, only to find myself pinned under her, her face hovering above mine, amused. My panicked breathing echoed in the quiet room. She laughed, clearly entertained. I struggled to get up, frustrated and angry. What's your deal? Get off me. Her breath was laced with a hint of alcohol. She brushed my hair aside and touched my face. "Joseph, what do you want?" Her touch was warm, her demeanor softening. I pushed against her, sweating with fear. "I want you to get up. Move." My tone was fierce, eyes glaring. She chuckled, playfully squeezing my neck before letting go. I stood, distanced myself, and quickly fixed my shirt and hair. She watched, her eyes intent, her voice hoarse with a bit of intoxication. "I'm sorry. I overstepped earlier and now. I shouldn't have questioned your beliefs in true love. But Joseph, your youth and naivety are real. I just want you to see the world clearly." "What are you talking about?" I eyed her warily. "You deserve better. I want to offer you a chance. After the new year, you could find a new job. Go see Chris, he'll set you up." "What's the price?" "There's no such thing as a free lunch, is there?" I shot back. Tiffany leaned back slightly, rubbing her temple, her voice tired. "What if I say there's no catch this time?" "Well, let me make it clear. I don't take free lunches either. I only take what I earn. So don't bother. Goodbye. I hope we never meet again." I fixed my bow tie, gave her a cold look, and turned to leave. "Wait," she called. I stopped and watched as she took out her phone and dialed my number, showing it to me. "Remember my number, Joseph. For now, my offer is $1 million. Call me if you reconsider." $1 million. I scoffed and walked away. I really was too young back then, prideful. Even if she'd offered $10 million, I would have laughed it off. Money was meaningless to me. Of course, I was naive. To Tiffany, my worth was $1 million. That was how she valued 19-year-old Joseph. A year later, I really did end up with her. Life's full of surprises. Alice passed away. I vividly remember that video store owner she knew. They got along like sisters. He asked if she was interested in getting into the phone card wholesale business. The owner had a supply source. He got goods at half price from a big boss named Susan, and then sold them at a 10% discount. We pooled all our savings together, and with the video store owner's help, we made our first big bucks. Later, Alice said she didn't want to partner up anymore. She wanted to go solo, so she found a new place and started a single household with Susan. Business was good after that. We were making a lot, and we invested a lot when restocking. When funds were tight, sometimes she'd get a batch of goods on credit from Susan. Alice worked hard. She hired someone to watch the store and set out early every day to drum up business. By the time summer ended, she'd tanned again, just like when she worked construction. We did make a lot of money during that time. We were so happy, dreaming and laughing about getting rich, saving money, buying a house, having a real home, settling down in this city. But the dream slipped away so quickly. Almost overnight, the market turned upside down, and the cards we got at a 50% discount were being dumped at 20%. Not only did we suffer heavy losses, but the video store owner lost nearly $2 million. He called Alice in tears. After clearing out the inventory, Alice still owed Susan $400,000. That Susan, who I didn't know but heard was involved with the mob. Her guys were debt collectors, didn't care about much, and said they'd kill Alice if she didn't pay up. Alice got beaten up once. I was worried sick when she didn't come back to our rented place for days, and when she finally did, she was covered in bruises. I hugged her and cried. She could barely open her eyes but still tried to comfort me. "Don't worry, Joseph. It's okay." I talked to Susan, and they agreed to let me pay in installments. She reassured me, "Don't worry. They're just trying to scare us. They won't kill me over a few $100,000. I thought about going to Tiffany for help, honestly. But deep down, I believed we weren't at rock bottom yet. Alice said we'd pay the debt off gradually, and I believed her. I found a new morning job, starting at 4 a.m. I worked at a restaurant until 11 p.m., then came back to our place, usually getting only 4 hours of sleep. Later, when I was too exhausted, I sometimes just crashed in the dorm. Alice was really upset, her eyes red. "Joseph, don't wear yourself out. I'll find a way to pay this off," she'd say. I told her how painful it was seeing her work as a hostess, drinking with clients every night. "Alice, why are we so unlucky, living like two dogs?" Alice cried, apologizing. "Joseph, I'm so sorry. Maybe we should break up? I don't want to drag you down." I cried too and said, "No breaking up, not even in death. We'll get through this, Alice. We'll be okay." I refused to break up, so I hustled hard, thinking with those 2 free hours between the morning job and the restaurant, what could I do with them? It was difficult. I couldn't find a suitable part-time job for just over 2 hours. I hadn't seen Alice for half a month, sleeping in the dorm due to exhaustion. One day, missing her immensely, I left an hour early to go see her. But what did I find? At 11 p.m., as I opened the door to our place, there she was tangled with a guy, clothes in disarray. Nothing explicit, just the guy pressed against her in our cramped space, squeezing towards the bed. I knew him. He lived next door and worked at a salon. Alice's face turned beet red, but when she saw me, it went pale with fear. She pushed him away, walked toward me, her voice trembling. "Joseph, it's not what you think." He said he lost his phone and asked to use ours, then wouldn't leave. Seeing her frantic expression, my mind turned to mush. My heart felt stabbed, hard to breathe, hurting like hell. The boy Alice pushed away stood awkwardly. "Sorry. Thought you weren't coming back. I'll leave." He tried to sneak out, and as he passed me, I grabbed his hair and attacked him with everything I had. He fought back, cussing, "We didn't even sleep together. Why are you going nuts?" Alice held me back, telling him to get lost. In our trashed apartment, I was left on the floor, sobbing without a sound. Alice stood with her eyes red from crying. Her embrace was still so warm, like I could always lean on her. "Joseph, what's wrong? Don't scare me," she pleaded. Between laughing and crying, I asked, "Alice, if I hadn't come back, would you two have slept together?" "Joseph, believe me," she choked out. I ached, feeling my heart squeezed tight, suffocating. I said I didn't know if I could trust her. I needed to think it over. I was so tired then, overwhelmed. I needed time to figure it out. Alice walked me back to my dorm. She cried the whole way, and when I headed upstairs, she crouched down, covering her face, sobbing. "Joseph, believe me. Joseph, don't leave me. I'm begging you." I didn't look back. I said I needed to think. My mind was a mess. I took a week to calm down, to consider. I didn't contact her or answer her calls. She meant too much to me, way too much. I couldn't handle any betrayal from her, not even a fleeting one. I didn't know what to do. But then, at 2 a.m., she called me from an unknown number. "Joseph, they changed their minds. They won't leave me alone. I'm at the train station. Come here, let's leave together." Without a second thought, I jumped up, grabbed my bag, packed a few clothes, and dashed to the train station like a madman. I realized at that moment I was sure of one thing. I trusted her, because she was Alice, my childhood friend, the girl next door. At 17, he kicked down a door to save me and we ran away together. He was my inseparable love. She wasn't the type to think about other guys. She was pure-hearted. I call her honey, and she'd blush. I trusted her. I trusted her. I trusted her. But how did she end up dead? I felt like a stray dog, a fish out of water, gasping for air. My heart ached so bad I couldn't breathe. She was hacked to death. Why did she have to die? Money. We were so poor, really poor. How useless could I be? 20 years old and still dirt poor, with nothing at all. A loser from birth, never able to hold on to anything. Couldn't keep Sam. I couldn't keep Alice. My lost past and youth. I've been with Tiffany for 13 years now. Too long. She taught me how to live better, to climb the social ladder, to always win at life. From a poor kid to Joseph, all it took was shedding some skin and bones. Oh, and sending Tiffany's men to my and Alice's old place to grab my household registration. I reunited with my parents and sister. Tiffany brought them to the city initially as a surprise for me. They hadn't changed much, but I had, with cold eyes. My parents' hair had turned white. They were meek and cried while looking at me, afraid to speak much. My sister was worldly and slick. She kept calling me bro, sounding all affectionate. I thought it was pointless and told Tiffany to send them back. But she went and bought my parents a house back home and got my sister a decent job. It was a year or two later when I found out that my sister had become a manager at a big local supermarket. Of course, that supermarket was under TC Group. Sharp-tongued little girl had gotten married and had a kid by then. When she visited headquarters to learn, she'd always see me, bringing things my parents carefully prepared. Pecans, peanuts, sesame oil. Kind of funny, one time, Mom even knitted a sweater for me. My sister said, "You should forgive our parents. When you disappeared back then, they were so worried. And if it weren't for that, you wouldn't have met Tiffany. It's destiny." She called Tiffany her sister-in-law. I said she shouldn't. She really didn't call her that again, but kept visiting me anyway. A few years ago, she came again, and during her hotel stay, she was approached by a company woman. The woman didn't know her identity and took her drinking, being from a small town and all, and then assaulted her in the room. She sobered up halfway through, went crazy, called me late at night crying, hiding in the bathroom, terrified. That night, Tiffany was right beside me. I answered the call at dawn, sat by the window, and lit a cigarette. On the phone, a woman sobbing miserably asked me what to do. I laughed on my end, nonchalantly asking, "Did you get her?" My sister was stunned and cried even louder. Casually, I asked again, "So did you get her or not?" She hung up. Tiffany came over and took the cigarette from my hand. At midnight, half asleep, she hugged me from behind, resting her head on my neck. In moments like this, Tiffany wasn't lofty at all. She was lazy, sated, tender. I in her embrace, looking out at the city nightlife, neon lights flickering like a dream. You see, the feeling of having control over others is amazing. Before turning 30, I wanted to marry Tiffany, tested the waters countless times. Do you think I loved her? No, I just wanted to destroy her. She, who created a winner, also wanted to be the one in control. She once said she'd open my eyes to the world. As she wished, I saw it all clearly. I knew how the phone card market crash happened because of an offhand comment from her. Alice and I, we were ants in the mundane world. And to her, the world was a chessboard. She didn't even have to do anything herself. Just a look would have countless minions pinning down struggling ants. How did I find out? In our third year together, she was in a meeting, and I was on her office sofa reading a finance magazine. Later, when I put the magazine on her desk, I accidentally saw an investment contract. She was investing in someone named Susan. Coincidentally, it was the same person Alice owed $40,000 to. When Alice got into trouble, her people took the fall for her. All these pieces, one by one, you just had to not be dumb to figure it out. Later, I contacted Chris, who'd left. Chris went back to the Philippines after leaving TC Group. First, he wouldn't say anything. Took me 3 years, trying every way to make him talk. He was scared and said, "Joseph, let it go." I pretended to go abroad for a fashion show, changed destinations at the airport, and personally went to find him. Chris, over 40 now, secretly met with me, saying Tiffany had approached Alice back then. Alice was stubborn, debt-ridden by Susan for 40 grand and badly beaten. Tiffany offered to help clear her debt and give her 100 grand to disappear alone. She refused, flat out refused. Tiffany didn't initially plan for her to die. She was skilled at manipulating people, just needed constant pressure to make her cave. Alice got trapped, threatened, scared off repeatedly. She couldn't stand it anymore and wanted to escape. The cause of her death was me running to her call, rushing out. Yeah, if I hadn't packed up and run with her, she wouldn't have died. Tiffany, looking out at a stormy sky one morning, realized snow was on the way. She pondered how someone so young could boldly risk everything. That was just wrong. True love above all? What nonsense. How absurd. Thinking about him running for the station, ready to vanish forever, left her in a terrible mood. So young. They're holding hands so tight, laughing so happily. Joseph's face is flushed, so innocent. Tiffany remembers herself. She's only 26 but feels so worn out, like she's already old. Her life is predictable, heading steadily toward inheriting the TC Group. Her grandma's expectations push her forward step by step. It seems she has everything. Her parents divorced when she was 4. Her dad passed away later. Her grandma is strict. She's been self-reliant since a young age, with a clear and logical mind. She studied abroad, had a boyfriend, then broke up. People should be rational and clear-headed. Emotions should be about weighing pros and cons. So why are they laughing so happily, as if they have more than she does? Joseph later said, Alice isn't the worst part of my life. I do everything for her, even give my life. How could he look at her so coldly, dismissing her sincerity so easily? And that girl, even when she had nowhere to turn, she wouldn't let go. Damn it. Tiffany frowned, slightly raising her head, watching the snow about to fall from the sky. Come on, snow. Cover this vast land. Hide all the ugliness and hypocrisy. Come on, snow. Light up the road ahead. Let that cicada see clearly. If she tries hard enough, a summer cicada can see winter's snow. At 23, I doubted the truth about Alice's death. At 26, I confirmed it. I wasn't too sad or as panicked as I thought I'd be. I just remembered that time I returned to the apartment, seeing her and that salon guy, clothes all messed up. I was so hurt, insisted on going back to the dorm. Alice followed me all the way. She cried the whole time. When I was going upstairs, she covered her eyes and squatted, sobbing, Joseph, believe me. Joseph, don't leave me, I beg you. What was she thinking then? A wealthy woman wanted to give her $1 million to leave. That woman was so successful. She liked Joseph. And Alice? A complete failure, struggling at the bottom of society. But she lived 21 years, and all she had was Joseph. Only Joseph. So Joseph, believe me. Joseph, don't leave me, I beg you. In the end, the story closed. Now Joseph is 33. I've met a woman 10 years younger than me. Her name's Anna, with features and expressions like Alice. A stand-in? Don't be ridiculous. I'm in my 30s. I don't believe in those dramatic love stories anymore. Like Tiffany hoped, I've already seen through this world, clear and awake. How many people really look alike? Anna, I met her when she was 14. She was born in a small place, family was poor, lived with her grandma. I had money then, randomly sponsored some kids from remote areas to study. Tiffany didn't care what I did. Later, Anna went to college in my city. I'd already made a name for myself, a famous fashion designer. When she called me brother, her smile was bright. I met her at a cafe in sunglasses, calm. In college, I used my resources to push her into the entertainment circle. I told her, your facial features aren't distinct enough. You need some tweaks. She nodded, said to follow my aesthetics. So, her eyes and brows became just like Alice's. No stand-in first love nonsense. I'm clear-headed, using her from the start. She didn't mind, said whatever I wanted to do. She was okay with it. She's a popular star, we kept our relationship secret. No one knew. We met at a party. She said she liked my clothes and wanted me to design her an outfit for the next award ceremony. That's how another story began. Before 30, I wanted to marry Tiffany, wanted a chance to kill her. Not only because she caused Alice's death, but also because she played me like a fool, a pawn on her chessboard. Later, I realized that wouldn't work and let it go. When her grandma was alive, she wouldn't marry me. After her grandma died, I didn't want to marry her, because I had a better plan. So I got rid of our child. She's smart, guessed I did it on purpose. I'm smart, knowing she guessed it. Mutual understanding, playing roles, calculating inside. Yeah, that's what opposing players should do. Let me think about my next move. Oh, announcing my engagement to Anna at Fashion Week. Of course, I'll make a big deal out of it. Let everyone know my breakup with Tiffany. So if anything happens to her, it won't affect me. But she's still so ruthless. She won't let me go. No worries, she saw Anna's face. That's the first blow. Next, the second blow. I climbed the apartment's balcony, half hanging off. A 7-story building. Tiffany's face drained of color. She reached out, saying, Joseph, what are you doing? Come down. Tiffany, let her go, let Anna leave, I beg you. Come down and everything's negotiable. Really negotiable? Promise. Swear to let her go, not touch her. I leaned further out. Joseph, I swear, now come down. Tiffany frowned, signaled the bodyguards to let Anna go. Then she cautiously stepped forward, reaching out again. "Come over, whatever you want. I'll agree." I looked back, gave her a faint smile. "Tiffany, how much am I worth now?" 33. "Am I still worth $1 million?" Her face went pale, hands trembling. I laughed, crazily, and under her gaze, fell off. "Screw you, Tiffany. Maybe I should just die. Death might finally free me from you." News about Joseph's supposed suicide made the papers the next day. Relax, like I'd really die. I'd worked out the angle 1 million times before I jumped. I wavered on the balcony until someone called the cops and they set up a safety mat below. Then I jumped. Even so, I got a little hurt. I ended up in the hospital. Tiffany came to see me once. She looked worn out, shadows under her eyes. I pretended to be asleep, eyes closed. She knew I was faking it. The sight of me jumping out of a window had shook her, so she didn't speak to me. She touched my face, kissed my forehead, then left. She never came back after that. I know why she stayed away. The fall of a termite nest destroys a 1,000-mile levee, was what Tim and I had been planning for years. Now the plan was kicking off. I first met Tim, the eldest son of the Millers, 8 years ago at their family dinner. Back then, his grandmother Christina was still alive and calling the shots for the Millers. Tim's mom is Christina's oldest daughter, and he is her first child. His father was the first husband, but he died from depression after Tim's mom brought the new woman home. That woman was the father of the Millers' eldest granddaughter, Diana, who is also Rose's father. The first time I met Tim, I was puzzled by how ordinary he seemed. He was 4 years older than Tiffany, already married and divorced at 36, childless, and quite insignificant within the Millers. He spoke little and wasn't respected. Yet, he held 7% of the shares in TC Group. I saw him a few more times but didn't get close until his grandmother died. The night before the funeral, there was a family fight over the will and inheritance certification. Tiffany brought me along, but she was too busy dealing with the Millers' pack of wolves to notice me. I zeroed in on Tim. At 40, he was a weak target for the Millers' aggression. As the eldest son with such a fate, I saw him as a tightly coiled spring. I probed him, approached him, and used his father's death to provoke him. No one wants to live a cowardly life. He said he'd do anything to make his mom suffer. I smiled and told him, "Tim, you'll be the TC Group's ultimate winner." After Christina died, Tiffany became the major shareholder. She made a big decision. She proposed a restructuring of some TC Group assets, getting all shareholders to share the risks. It took 2 years for this to be approved. Following that was a year-long asset liquidation. I figured something was bound to happen. Tiffany, being at the top, couldn't possibly keep an eye on everyone below, especially the Millers' eldest granddaughter, Diana, who always obeyed Tiffany. Her good sister was greedy, moving assets to her privately owned companies over 4 years. If not for this asset liquidation, her actions might have gone unnoticed. Meanwhile, Tim flattered his brother-in-law, Diana's husband, encouraging both his and Diana's desires and greed. Their little secrets went unnoticed. No one would ever know, or so we thought until it all blew up unexpectedly. Tim and I aimed to implicate Diana in a crime and drag Tiffany down with her. Frauds involving state-owned assets meant no clean getaway for the group's head. This game of titans nearly saw us losing in the beginning, as Tiffany was incredibly crafty at covering things up. I lay in the hospital when Tim called me, sighing deeply, saying our plan failed. TC Group was destined for Tiffany. She was too cunning, too ruthless. I gazed at the window, speaking temptingly. If only someone died now, it would stir things up beyond control. Tim said nothing. I added, "This is the last chance to topple Tiffany. The winner takes TC Group." Days later, the news reported that Diana had committed suicide, fearing charges of obstructing liquidation. An investigation followed, and soon, Diana's husband gave an interview claiming she was murdered, not a suicide. During his statement, Tim stood beside him, eyes red and swollen, putting on quite a show. High society drama, all cloak and dagger, barely a trace of blood. Diana's husband accused Rose of strangling her own sister. The police investigation found she was responsible, and Rose was arrested on the spot. Watching the press conference on TV, I saw Tim, posing as the grieving eldest grandson of the Millers, apologize and state he'd manage all group affairs. A barely noticeable grin played on his lips. He was craftier than I'd imagined. TC Group was his now. The small fire had become an unstoppable blaze, and Tiffany had nowhere to hide. She must be at home waiting to be arrested. How many years would she get? I lay in bed, peacefully, mouth curving upward as I hummed a tune. I'd won. With Tiffany gone, I was still the celebrated fashion designer Joseph. I was exhausted. I planned to sleep well. That night, I slept deeply and peacefully. The next morning, I woke to see Anna. She sat by my bed, smiling, saying, "Good morning. I brought you breakfast." I asked her, was she caught? She looked at me, shook her head. "She's dead." "Dead?" "Yes, last night, before the police arrived, she disappeared." Anna explained her biological dad was overseas. They had everything set up. Tiffany didn't plan on going to jail. She was heading to Macau, planning to leave from there. Then what? She didn't make it to the boat. She got into a car accident on the way, died right there. The driver was drunk, and he's been arrested too. I never imagined things would end this way with Tiffany. My mind was wandering. Anna hesitated, then said, "The road where she had the accident was in the direction of the hospital." The direction of the hospital. So what? Was she planning to run away with me? Or was she coming to say a final goodbye? It doesn't matter anymore. None of that matters now. I lowered my eyelids and let out a light laugh. In a moment of clarity, I thought of something and picked up my phone to call Tim. I asked him, "Was it you?" He said, "Does it matter? If you were me, wouldn't you have done the same?" The next day, I was discharged from the hospital. The apartment was cleaned up, and there was no trace of the previous mess. When I opened the door, sunlight streamed through the window, and the white curtains gently rose and fell. On the coffee table by the sofa, the ashtray was filled with cigarette butts. Next to it was a bunch of white roses with curled edges, blooming flawlessly. Their fragrance was subtle, white and pure, white and silent. Only Tiffany would send me flowers like this. I followed her for 13 years, and she sent these for 13 years. White roses, how beautiful. Unfortunately, they're not that fresh. At 35, during an interview at an international fashion week, someone asked me what my most satisfying work was. I thought for a moment and still said those 4 words, decaying wilderness, even though they all said it was my worst design. That year, after work had wrapped up, one day I was walking down the street and, on a whim, wanted to go back. With no one else with me and no luggage, I headed straight to the airport. After buses and public transit, I returned to where it all began. A small, remote county. I hired a car to visit the village. The taxi driver laughed, saying, "You haven't been back in years. Have you? The Dizzy store's long gone. The nearby villages are gone too. They were relocated ages ago. They got lucky. Some big city boss liked that area and built an eco-park and a horse farm. 6 years ago. Oh, and there's a big amusement park there now, free of charge. That city boss is a good person, boosting our whole town's economy. Though I heard her life's not great. Never had kids. Heard she had the amusement park built first when they started the eco-park. Her husband's also from the south like us. Said when they have kids, they'd bring them here to play. Dizzy store's gone, you still want to go?" Of course, I want to go. As I sat in the car, I couldn't help but think, Tiffany's really ridiculous. I don't need to ask who that city boss is. I know it's her, because she used to always ask me, "Joseph, what do you want?" At 27, I had made it. I had everything. I lacked nothing. I said, "A big amusement park with carousels and a Ferris wheel." She laughed then, "Want to go to an amusement park? After I'm done with this busy period." Of course, it was just something I said without thinking. She never took me there later. Now, standing on a far-off hill, the eco-farm is silent, lush grass all around. I saw the Ferris wheel in the distance. That amusement park must be a lively place. Where there's lots of children, there's endless hope. As for Tiffany, She's gone, and I never want to mention her again. The wilderness stretches endlessly. It's been 18 years since I left. 18 years since the place where Alice and I grew up disappeared. We used to run barefoot through the fields at the village's edge. Now, I don't know which direction that was. I want to find it, so I follow the grass, just walking. Like that dream I had a long time ago. Just walk, keep walking, until I can walk no more. The fields feel like they're just me alone. I saw Sam, sitting on the bike of that girl fixing something, waving to me from afar, getting farther down the path. He was smiling so brightly. Joseph, goodbye. I saw Alice too, standing ahead, hands in pockets, like she did at 17. The wind swept through the fields. She looked at me. Her face the same, her voice distant. Joseph, aren't you tired? Tired. Alice, I'm tired. That cicada, which once saw snow, braved the cold, crossed mountains and rivers, and returned to the beginning. In utter silence, it lay among the grass, motionless, breathing faint, slowly dying. This rotting, covered with ants, eaten clean. Is it dead? No. Next year there will be many more summer cicadas. All things are destined this way. Starting from rot, they're reborn anew.